Should we wait for that guy to stop, or should we just...
I don't know if that guy's gonna stop.
Oh, okay.
Oh, this is our chance. Okay.
Welcome to Upper Valley Access.
Your monthly video magazine.
So this month there was a Bernie live stream at the Main Street Museum. A bunch of people from the community organized this event, and they live streamed Bernie. So I heard there was a really neat studio shoot that you did this month.
There was. So a group of Mandela Washington Fellows who are at Dartmouth for 6 weeks over the course of the summer came into our studio and shared about their experience in the Upper Valley and also about their entrepreneurial endeavors back in Africa. Have you been to the Montshire recently?
I've not.
Have you been to the Montshire ever?
I've never been to the Montshire. I've been by it, but never to the Montshire.
Okay, well if you do, there are these, they're ranging from quite enormous to quite small sculptures of mammals. And so a production assistant, Brianna Spangler, was really curious about them. And so she went and interviewed the sculpture artist, Bob Shanahan.
So I'm Bob Shanahan, and I've done many things in life. The latest thing I'm doing is making these animals. It started out as a hobby, and now it's become a compulsion. And I work here at the Montshire in the morning as the custodian, and I open the place up. So it's a really nice fit. I've been working with art, I guess, a lot all my life. Whenever I need to do something, I make it. So I consider this more making things rather than art. So it's on and off, and I've been working on these animals for about 10 years now. I started with the mammoth, and it took quite a while. It was just kind of an experiment. And I made the second animal. And somewhere between the second and third animal, I guess you could call me obsessive compulsive. It came out. I don't know if you've ever seen a guy working on a boat in his front yard. You go by every spring and he's still working on it, and you go, God, what a turkey. And then it turns out I'm that turkey too, still working on it. So I'm always asking myself why this project started, and I think it was a basic human feeling of fairness. And I kind of felt that the dinosaurs got all the press. They had all the Rex appeal, and the mammals were kind of an unknown area. So after building two animals, I realized that I was on track to show all the 65 million years of animal evolution. So I ended up with 8 animals, and they pretty much cover the periods. So you have an idea you want to try to make these things. You have no idea how they're going to turn out. So you go, how am I going to make fur? Certainly don't have the money to buy little pieces of fur. So I'm traveling along in the autumn, and I just noticed in the fields the color and texture of the brush, and so that I go, well, that might do. So I experimented with it, and it actually, it's funny. The autumn colors of all the vegetation, they kind of match all different colors of fur. So having that insight was fun, and then actually making it just is very laborious. So a lot of people want to know too how they're made. So I whipped up this sequence here of the Entelodont being made using photographs. And a lot of these animals are like little micro architecture. You have to art part of the building, and then you have to do the structural engineering part. How's it actually going to stand up? So starting out with this photograph of Entelodont fossils reconstructed, I go on the left here, I go over and I play around with tinfoil and clay and trying to get a pose going that kind of moves me. And it was a really irascible animal, so I got a kind of an angry, distracted pose. And then over to the right, I have to figure out how I'm going to make the frame. So there's a little frame of the animal. And then it all comes together, and how am I going to cover it? So I have to figure out how to cover it and use all sorts of wire and sheet metal for that. And then moving along farther here, have to build a frame up. You can see where it's welded. Use plywood discs for the knees and the elbows. Moving right along, start covering it with birch. This layer of birch is the hardest part of it, strapping on this layer of birch. And then the head is made out of big blocks of styrofoam. It takes a long time to get this. This was the hardest head out of all the animals to do. And then the final part is taking a brush, which I collected in the fall, and sticking a brush between the birch. And that's how it's held on. So there's 8 sculptures here, and they're kind of chronologically arranged from starting 65 million years ago when the dinosaurs died out, and right up to the present. So people go, well, what's the big deal? What's the connection? And it's that things that happened back then are affecting us now. I think the favorites are the little horses, especially the first horse I made. I could take it with me. I don't have a cat or a dog. I don't have to feed it, so that's kind of fun. And then the camel's very female and gracile, and I like that because it's different from all the others. And I've noticed that, incidentally, the women really like these animals and move by them. And I think it's because they're big and hairy, it reminds them of men. And the best part, you don't have to talk to them. So the dinosaurs go extinct 65 million years ago, and the planet's very hot, very warm, and very jungly. And so the first animal that kind of has a foot in both worlds is the giant bird, the diatryma. And if you squint at it, you can almost, and you take away the feathers, and put scales in its place, you can almost see a small Tyrannosaurus rex. And that was hanging around for the 10 million years after the dinosaurs went extinct. And it preyed on these little horses. And you can see how small they were. That's how small horses were 50 million years ago. And they kind of hung out in the shade, in the jungle. And that's why they're colored the way they are. And it took 50 million years for them to grow up to be the size they are today. So that takes us up to about 30 million years ago, 35 million years ago. And the planet starts changing at this point. Antarctica settles over the South Pole and the water gets colder and the planet starts getting colder. And the jungles have gone and it's more open savanna now, parkland. So mammals are getting bigger and more diverse. And the entelodon's a good example of that. It's kind of like a Franken animal. It's got a mouth or a head like an alligator. It's got feet like a pony. It's just an interesting animal, one of nature's experiments. And then we're up to 20 million years ago, and the grass has evolved now. That's the big change. The planet's cooler and there's grass everywhere. So you start getting all these tremendous herds of animals. And the camel is an interesting choice because the camels pretty much originated in America, which was a big surprise to me. And this particular camel evolved a long neck to reach up to the top of trees and exploit that. So it's kind of our American equivalent of a giraffe. And that brings us up to 5 million years ago. At this point, the climate zones on the planet are getting stratified. You have an Arctic and a temperate, subtropical and a tropical. South America has joined North America, and it's getting quite a bit colder. And this bear, the short-faced bears, were a family of bears that were way before the 3 types of bears we have in North America now. And they were huge, and just a question of whether they were carnivores or omnivores. And they probably did a lot of scavenging. They had big, long legs, so they could cover a lot of territory. And they had a huge nose, which sniffed out probably carrion. So they would arrive at a kill, and they would swat everything else out of the way. And of course, the last period is the Ice Age, the last 2 million years. And the mammoth is an example of a super specialized animal. It has really long fur. And that was the first animal I made. And to some extent, they more or less were here. That's the thing that blew my mind. A lot of these animals are right here in New Hampshire and Vermont. And the reason we don't find many fossils is the East Coast fossils go up about as far as New Jersey, and that's where the big ice sheet stopped. And there was a mammoth tooth found in Vermont, and last 2 years, one in New Hampshire. here we are at the present. And this whole project could be titled Fur, too. It's the evolution of fur versus scales.
I thought this would be livelier than the one in the library and stuff.
Oh, definitely. Although you never know. You never know who'd come out.
Not only is it seeing him live stream, so he is actually talking in real time, he's just not physically right in front of us. And then like tonight we have a DJ and BYOB and just kind of a casual coming together where we cannot feel like we're in a conference and we can't move, and it's kind of just your friends and your neighbors and talking about the issues that you don't really talk about at work or school.
I am supporting Bernie for president for 2016. I'm excited to see someone who really inspires passion in me in politics for the first time in a long time. Someone who I think can make real positive change and take the country in a direction that I think we really ought to be going.
We're out to see Bernie.
Yeah, we came to get involved.
It's really important to get people involved. If people are going to take the government back from the control of the government, back from the corporations, people have to get involved and stop doing all the other little sideline things we do at night and devote a little bit more attention to our future.
It's the first time I'm going to vote in America. I've been living here in 15 years and I'm finally a US citizen. So it's my first presidential campaign where I can actually vote, and I am delighted to have a man who actually cares about the people.
Sort of women's rights, reproductive rights, and I know that Bernie stands behind those issues. I guess I also really care about the environment, so that's something I'm taking into account.
I'm jumping on the environment train. I grew up surrounded by national parks and protected lands, and also not protected lands, and kind of seeing the divide it creates. So that's one of my bigger ones. It's kind of been a main driving point throughout my whole life, so it's home.
I think events like this are really important to show people that there are other people who think the same way that you do, to bring people together and to start to build a movement. To do anything meaningful in politics, I think you need to bring people together, and that's what this does.
It's contagious, the grassroots movement of it all, because it's just me telling her, we should check this guy out, and it spreads and spreads, and I think it can cause a movement.
I just wanted to welcome you all tonight. My name is David Fairbanks Gold. And I just want to welcome you to the Main Street Museum in White River Junction.
I don't have to tell anybody that these are very, very difficult times in America. And as I have said over and over again, Bernie Sanders alone, as President of the United States, is not going to solve all of these problems. The only way we take on the Koch brothers, the only way we take on the billionaire class in corporate America, and these people who have unbelievable amounts of money and power, the only way I know that we do that is when we put together a strong grassroots movement of millions and millions of people. And that is what I mean by a political revolution, and that is what you are involved in today.
I thought this would be livelier than the one in the library and stuff.
Definitely. Although you never know. You never know who'd come out.
Hello and welcome to Tell Your Story. This is a show about the Mandela Washington Fellowship. And today we're talking to fellows that are attached to Dartmouth College in Hanover, USA. My name is Kenny Tonga. I'm your host for the show, and we'll have a very fantastic time together. With me in the studio, I have 3 fellows, among the rest of them that are here, that I'm going to talk to, and we're basically just going to hear what their story is.
I was searching for an opportunity that had the capacity to transform my life.
It's pretty much iron sharpening iron. I mean, we're talking about brilliant people. You're surrounded. You're in the zone where like-mindedness is coming. Even when it conflicts, you know that you're gonna learn something.
What would you like to see different back home, or what would you like to do different back at home after the fellowship?
Before coming here, I'm not a risk taker. I want to do business, but I don't want to take a risk. But what I learned here, I say, now I'm ready to go back to start my business.
Jamila, when you applied back in Uganda, were you confident that you'll be picked for the fellowship?
It's funny you're saying, was I confident? Because I own a non-profit company that trains girls to build their self-confidence. So I was obviously confident. I was very confident, because if you're not confident, you're not going to get it. If you double think yourself, you obviously won't get it.
I don't want to be one of those few that came and wasted the US government's money and didn't implement anything, because Africa is desperate for change. Apart from that, Africa is a rich continent that is blessed. I believe that we could be so far ahead, but people don't know. And everybody won't have the opportunity to come here and learn. So if you've been chosen to come here and learn, I believe that you must put it into practice. Because when people see what you're doing, they're likely to, follow you, as compared to if you're just saying and not doing. So I'm confident that when I go back home, I'm going to implement all the things that I've learned, and then hopefully people will be able to imbibe all the things that they're seeing from Swish Ideas.
What has been your most interesting moment, during this fellowship?
The best moments, I guess, would be when I got to meet all those fellows from the different countries in Africa. I think every time I started sharing stories with them, I learned so much. I learned so much about their countries, about their cultures. Mauritius is part of Africa, but at the same time, we're a very small island nation, and we're off the coast of Africa. So we don't have direct contact with all those different countries. So each time I'm sharing my stories and I'm learning from my peers, I think these are like moments to really focus on and to learn and use all those skills when I go back to share this with my people in Mauritius, to tell them how amazing African countries are and how much potential there is in Africa, and that from Mauritius maybe we should move more towards Africa and do great things together.
We are able now to network as a continent, and after our continent, we are also able to network globally, reaching out to the US and other markets that are out there which we need to explore. So I thank President Barack Obama for believing in us, because back home, to be honest, we are not seen as leaders because we choose to work and the rewards come later. But President Obama and the team, let's say at Dartmouth, that includes Amy, Thomas, and the other administrative people that I may not be able to mention now, they realize the potential in us. And when we come through, we are trained to become better. And when you go back home, you are able to focus and also attract good things to see to it that change comes. Because like the other speakers already mentioned, that Africa is in need of change. But the question is, which change? We want to bring prosperity, economic change, ideas to grow, and then come up with innovation that are centered for Africa. Because we want to think globally, but act locally to try and see that our projects launch into the right perspectives.
And I think definitely that investing in people, investing in education is the best way to empower and help people to move forward.
I'm taking home an attitude of self-belief and an opportunity for growth for my business.
I'm going to leave humbled, challenged, and inspired.
For us to initiate a project, we need investment. But you only get investment when you share your story and when you are able to articulate and tell the story that there is indeed a need. And if capital is available, people can venture into it and see how far this investment can take us in terms of impacting today's generation and tomorrow's generation.
While walking through the Powerhouse Mall recently, I noticed something strange. A plaque indicating a 215-year-old house on the mall property. I investigated and discovered that there are actually 3 small structures in the mall that are about 200 years old. 2 are now self-contained stores. And 1 is part of a large store. How did they get there?
Vermont's new Universal Recycling Law, Act 148, is designed to keep valuable resources out of the landfill. Every day, Vermonters and Vermont businesses discard more than 325,000 pounds of quality food and food scraps. The Universal Recycling Law encourages Vermont communities to capture the best of this food to contribute to the charitable food system. Everybody wins. We're helping our neighbors, we're keeping valuable materials out of the landfill, we're reducing disposal costs, and retailers and service providers get some great PR. This is community building at its best. We're very fortunate that Vermont has an established network for redistributing food surplus, and we're seeing this network grow under the Universal Recycling diversion hierarchy.
In the year 2014, the Vermont Food Bank, with the help of 270 network partners, such as meal sites and food shelves, diverted 9 million pounds of food that would have otherwise been buried in a landfill. 1.4 million of that was produce. In the year 2016, we expect that retail donations alone will exceed 4 million pounds. Often, people are concerned about their donations and the safety of those donations. So it's important that people understand that food safety is our top priority. The Vermont Food Bank and food rescue organizations work hard with distributors and grocers to ensure food safety and the safety of that distribution. The Good Samaritan Law protects food donors from liability. You'll find a link to that at the end of this video.
The Co-op Food Store's partnership with Willing Hands in the Upper Valley is an example of safe and reliable food rescue. We started working with Willing Hands over 10 years ago to divert quality produce to neighbors in need. Our 4 stores divert 9 to 10 tons a month through this partnership. Every week and year-round, Willing Hands distributes our food to more than 50 organizations serving our neighbors in need. Our food is culled from the shelves. Our staff quickly sorts it, separating the best quality for human consumption and the rest for animal feed or compost. Willing Hands picks up our food several times a day, 7 days a week, is moved out of our stores promptly and reliably. We're saving about $9,000 annually on our disposal costs, and our customers are very happy that we are being both socially and environmentally responsible.
Getting your surplus food to Vermonters in need is easy, it saves you disposal fees, and it builds goodwill in your community. Let your customers know that you're donating food. It's good for your business, and it's good for your community.
Hey Fred, hit me up. So, did you hear about the horse napping last night?
Sorry, we don't serve people from out of town. Plus, you're underaged.
What?
You have to be 13 to eat a cookie in this town.
Alright, then it's settled. Belly roll off.
It's on.
But if I win, I eat all the cookies I want.
If I win, you leave this town for good. Deal?
Deal.
Wait, not in my bar. Settle this like men outside at 12 o'clock.
Fine.
Till then, you need to stay out of my bar.
I didn't think you were man enough to show up.
I am more than man enough.
Alright, then let's do this.
5 paces.
Yep.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
You've bested me. I'll accept my fate and leave.
Dumb guy forgot his hat. It's mine now. Hey, what about another cookie?
You've been eating all day. Don't you think it's time to stop? Just spoil your appetite.
Guess you're right. Well, see you later.
See ya. My mom wants me home by 8, so I'll be closing up.
Okay.
What are you doing?
I always spoil my appetite.
Abs of steel. Now give me my hat.
We look forward to hearing your feedback. So if you see something that looks interesting to you, if you have an idea for a story that you want us to cover for future magazines, give us a call, shoot us an email. We'd love to hear from you.
So make sure to come visit us at the Tip Top Media Building, 85 North Main Street, White River Junction. We hope to see you. Bye.
Don't you remember I told you there's a microphone right there in the bush. You have to talk into it. Now you talk towards it. The sound goes through the cable to the box. A man records it on a big record in wax. But you have to talk into the mic first.